Good afternoon, folks. This week we're going to make a tool handle for a new parting tool. Here we are drilling the hole in it, and I use the headstock to drill versus some people put it in a chuck or something like that. I just find it easier to drill going into the headstock. It's also a good place to work on some skew practice. All we're doing right now is making the piece round. So it's pretty safe. You're not trying to make any curves or anything like that. So just a good place to learn and practice. Especially the peel and cut. That's actually a quicker way of getting something from square to round, in my opinion, as far as spindle work goes. And now we're going to put a ferrule on it. And I like the lesser expensive ferrule that I can get. So that's just a piece of copper tubing. You can buy that at any of the home centers or anything like that. Cut it with a tubing cutter. And then we'll just put a tenon down here to fit the copper tubing. This is probably the most time-consuming part of this whole project. I cut most of it out. It probably took me 6 tries to get it to be exactly where I wanted it. Because I want a snug fit, but I don't want to have to pound it on or anything like that. Because I will glue it. So we're just still using our skew to clean things up. Put a couple little V grooves in there to accept some of the glue, so it gives it a little bit of a keyed surface. And then we glue it on. It's just a simple 5-minute epoxy. Even somebody's idea of 5-minute epoxy, it's not cured in 5 minutes, but you just take and go have a snack or something like that and come back to it. It does help when you tighten the tool rest up when you go to move it, like I didn't do there because it started to move, but didn't panic, so it's not going to go anywhere, and there's no square edges. But we're still using our skew, either the long point or the short point, to make the curves going downward. And then you're just making a sort of a long gradual cove. So it's still a pretty easy and safe thing to do with the skew. You can still have catches. I mean, it's just all about practice. So we're just working our way down. We're not getting in any big hurry, but we're going to work from the tailstock to the headstock in this case, so that there's more support and more mass at the head rather than the tail, because you will pick up some vibration if you go too thin down at either end first. So we'll just take our time. Keep making nice little planing cuts, working our shape down to what we want it to be. Both directions. And then eventually we'll get down to the bottom. This is a piece of ash, by the way. So it is pretty hard. So the difference when you see this and some of the professionals you may see using a skew, ash is quite hard, so it takes a little bit more effort. You got to make lighter cuts to use the skew with, but it will give you a very nice finish, right straight from the tool. So there'll be very little sanding when you're done, which is the wonders of it. That's pretty much it. We finish up our shape. Get the butt end down pretty much as small as what we can. And I will cut that last little bit off. I'm not the one that cuts it off using the skew. I will take it down to probably 1/4 of an inch, maybe less down there. And then I saw it off. It just isn't worth the misfortune of you spent any amount of time. In this case, you spent a fair amount of time to make this so far, so why take the chance of being a hero and taking that last little bit off down at the end and have it go flying across the room or something like that, and then you have another issue. I do finish it off with a spindle gouge though at those little places, because I don't use the skew that much, so it's just yeah. a good way not to have a major redo or something like that. And we'll sand it up. It is a tool handle, so it's not going to be sanded up real high. Of course, you always got to have some of the 5-minute epoxy squeezed out onto the ferrule. So a little knife work, a little extra sanding there gets rid of that. This will eventually, I started out, I was going to dye this and use grain filler on it, but I forgot the part of I didn't sand it quite as well as what I needed to be able to dye it. As you can see, just use a little 2-inch disc sander on the drill. You could put that in the lathe as well, just to get that last little nub off. As I said earlier, I did not sand this quite well enough to actually dye it. So I took it outside and scorched it with a torch. I do not have a video of the scorching process. It's not really that overly hard. You just have to have the right kind of wood, and I do mine outside. I'm not gonna burn wood in my house. Not to mention it would be unsafe to do it in my shop, because as you can see, there's a pile of chips at my feet. So it's never a good thing to do, you know, in a place where things could catch on fire, put it that way. So we'll just use a wire brush, a brass brush, clean it off. I'm going to put a coat of Parfix 3408 over top of it, and this would be a complete tool handle. But actually I come back the next day and decided that I should give it some color to go with that. So I did use a grain filler over top of the Parfix 3408, and then 1 coat of lacquer over top of that, which I promptly forgot to record. So we'll have to do another video where I show the process, how I go about doing the last little bits of that, the grain filling and things like that. That's pretty much it. Put the steel in the handle and away it goes. Thanks for watching.